Kia ora, welcome to the 2025 Vintage Pearls Christmas Club reveal. Let's get straight into it by looking at what is in the box. So I've peeled back the tissue a bit so we don't make too much noise, hopefully. You can see right on top there's a whole bunch of fudge, as is kind of traditional in any Vintage Pearls package. So this year we have choc coconut in the pink packets, choc mint in the green, and French vanilla in the cream. And I tend to try and make the fudge colours go with the colours in the package, so you'll soon see why I chose those ones. Then we start to see a whole lot of yarn emerge, and this is all Tanner Hill 4-ply. So we have 6 mini skeins and then a full skein of Nadara, which is this natural beige tone. So 6 skeins, 2 greens, 2 purples and 2 mauvey tones. We have a little packet of, little container full of all sorts of bits and pieces that are useful for making the pattern that is included with this collection of yarn, which I didn't think to peel the sellotape off beforehand, so just bear with me. Right, so in here there's some cotton thread that's going to be very useful when we're making things. There's darning needle, there's sewing thread and sewing needle, there's pins, there's a bunch of T-pins for blocking, and then there's a few stitch markers which are specific to the project that we are making. They're specifically useful for that, so there's a few safety pin markers and a standard ring marker. And they all come in this reusable plastic container, which is ideal for pins so that you don't stab yourself in the future. So it's basically a whole little sort of notions kit, I guess. There is also a zip in the box, which again, very useful for making the project that comes with this. There is a postcard which gives you a little teaser of the pattern to come. So this is just a postcard you can keep or send to someone if you like. And there is, of course, the Vintage Pearls annual bookmark featuring the cats of Vintage Pearls, Fergus, Rosie, Margot and Rue. So I produce one of these every year, and that's in the bottom. So that's what's in the box. And this is a kit basically designed, you can use it for whatever you like, but I made this as a kit to make this, which is Kianik, which is a cushion cover. So Fair Isle front and back, although you can do a plain back if you wish to. And it's got a lovely piped edge which is created by I-cord. So we join the front and back together with this lovely I-cord edging, and then we have a nice little concealed zip placket in the bottom, so that you can obviously open her up and put in an insert, and so she can be taken off and washed and cared for, because this to me is something that you make and keep as an heirloom, or you make several. So that you can have them on your couch. You can make them in whatever colours suit your interior. So obviously given you a particular colourway. It might not be your cup of tea for this project. So we're going to discuss in a little while other things that you can do with your yarn if you think I don't want to use it in this particular project. But know that this can be made in a whole range of colourways. So in a minute or two I'm just going to tell you briefly about my inspiration for this design, and then of course tell you what else you can do with the yarn that's included in the package if that isn't specifically what you want to do with it. So all the yarn involved, as I said, is Tanner Hill, which is 100% merino yarn, New Zealand merino, and it's woolen spun. So this is a beautiful light airy yarn. This is it's very warm when you make it into a garment. It's quite grippy. It's perfect for Fair Isle. It really is ideal for that. So that is the contents of the box. Let me just pop those things aside and let's have a slightly closer look at this. So this is seamless. You don't, well, you do a little bit of sewing because you've got to sew a zip in the bottom, but it's kind of like old school sewing. You're not doing any sewing of pieces together of the actual cushion. We knit a front panel from the centre out, we knit a back panel from the centre out, we join them together with a 3 needle I-cord bind off, so there's lots of interesting things happening there. This is basically classic Fair Isle, so there aren't any long stretches of colour, so it's a really easy knit where you don't have to worry about controlling floats and anything. It's all in the round. You just go round and round and round in spirals, working these lovely bands of patterns. So Ciarnach, the name, is Scots Gaelic, which just means square really, or a square-like thing. So I haven't been terribly inspired there, but the actual design, normally when you see these videos, I get to tell you all about an artist and an artwork in particular. That's not the case with this. This is a design that's been knocking around in my head for a long time. It is not inspired by a particular artwork or artist. What it's inspired by are garden layouts. So humans and gardens, there's a thing we've been doing since forever, and we just have this desire to organise our gardens. And to me, this is like a top-down image of quite a formal garden. So the pink and purple bands are my flowers, and if you look at the designs, you might see that they're kind of flower-like. And then the green areas are my trellises that separate my flower beds. The background colour, as you will, are the paths between all of those things. So this is really just inspired by the kind of aerial views of generally quite formal gardens, but if you think maybe potages as well. I've gone for flowers, but I could think of these as vegetables easily enough. You could think of the green spaces as hedges or fences, or as I say, trellis in my case. Or maybe they're just green bushes. This might just be flowering and non-flowering plants. But to me it is like an aerial overview of a garden that maybe you would see from a second story window, whatever it might be. And there are lots and lots of images that I've seen over time that have influenced this in some way. And as I say, it's not just very grand. I mean, I think you might think of very formal chateau gardens or something. Versailles has wonderful gardens. Lots of stately homes have wonderful gardens, but also lots of much more modest houses would have, you know, beautifully curated potager gardens or vegetable patches or even flower gardens. As humans, we quite like to order our plants in our own little spaces and tend to them and keep them very clean and have these clear structures. And so that's really the inspiration for this. Nothing particularly deep and meaningful, and nothing that was very specific, but something that, as I say, has been sort of knocking around in my head for a long time and that I really wanted to do. The one thing about working colour work in the round is you often get a really visible jog where the round ends. So by placing my beginning of round where this diagonal line is, so I've kept these diagonal lines, they're the structural, so we increase along these lines, which is why we get these spines as such. By cleverly placing, or consider, it's not cleverly because lots of people do it, but by being very considered in where I've placed the beginning of round in relation to those spines, it means that visually this doesn't appear to have any distinct jog, which I really like. So there's a lot about the construction of this that's taken a lot of time about mulling over, making it a really clean and clever construction that executed the idea I'd had well. Not saying I'm the first one to do this, I'm sure I'm not. There's very little that's new in knitting anyway, but I'm not claiming any kind of invention, but I'm just saying it's a thing that was in the brain that has long wanted to come out, and this is my personal best execution of this idea. And I really enjoy it. And as I say, it's got a nice little hidden placket for an invisible zip on the bottom, so you can have it displayed front or back like most normal cushions, and you're not going to see that. It's not really obvious. It's not like the zips across the back. So it makes it a dual-sided option. You don't have to have both sides matching. You could definitely change things up on each side if you wish to. And in the pattern, I do give you instructions for a plain back as well, if that's something you want to invest your time in the front, but maybe not in the back. So lots of options, and very, very adaptable to different colorways. It will take a single full skein of yarn, so 100 grams is your background color, and then it takes 6 mini skeins, so 6 20-gram mini skeins to do the rest. So in this case, 2 greens, 2 purples, 2 mauves, and you want to work on that sort of scheme. So it's a reasonably affordable project, because all up you're only talking, what's that, 6 times 20, 120, 220 grams of yarn. And also, if you are the kind of person who likes a lot of colour, this is a great way to use up scraps as well. So there's lots of possibilities for working this pattern. So that's the contents, that's the object, that's my inspiration for that object. But you might look at this and you think, well, I don't really want a purple and green cushion in my house, because that just might not be your colour scheme. For me, this was based on the colours of heather. Again, sort of referencing, I guess, my Scottish ancestry. My middle name is Heather, my mum's name is Heather. Heather's quite special to us on that front. But yes, this might not be your colour scheme for an interior object, but you might love it and think, I actually want to wear this. You might think it's too good for a cushion. I want to wear this, or I want to do something else with it. And as I always do, I've got a range of ideas of things that I've seen this year on Ravelry that I thought, oh, they would work well for this. So let's have a look at some of those ideas and see other uses that you might find for this little collection. So number one is the gingerbread sweater by Vera Velamakai. I'm hoping I'm saying her name correctly. This is quite a simple sweater in 2 colours in her model, and it's got that glorious sort of detail around the kind of neckline area, but like this sweater, which is lovely. I think it's kind of universally flattering. It's like wearing a necklace. It's fantastic. As I say, her model shows it in 2 colours, but I think it would be really, really pretty if instead of doing the 3 lines in 1 colour each, if you did them in 3 different colours, maybe in a sort of graduated colour on top of this, or on top of something else. So this colour, very easy to get heaps more of this. This is a very standard colour in my range. The darkest green in this range is my standard colour gold. This is a tint of gold, so it's the same. I can repeat all of these colours, but most of them aren't in my standard range by default. I have similar shades, so I try not to have too many shades in the kind of main range. But things like Helen and stuff are in my standard collection, so are kind of similar to this. But so if you don't have this collection and you're thinking, oh, I like the idea of those colours, then you can reproduce something similar. But yes, I thought if you wanted to do the greens, but if you want to do the purples in a gradient on that design, I thought that would be so pretty. Or mix it up. You could do a dark green and a pale. You could do one of each. Anything. I think it's just a really lovely pattern that's really, really adaptable to lots of situations. And knit in something like this, beautifully warm, but also quite light in winter, so snuggly but without being oppressive. Yeah, really cute, that pattern. The second option in terms of wearable garments I came along was this pattern called Atayu. Again, probably slaughtering the name, apologies. By, again, I'm going to slaughter this name too, Belén Fernandez. And this is, again, a really classic yoked sweater. She has lots of colours in it, so I think in her pattern, I haven't kept a record here, but we're talking more than 6 colours, that's for real. But you could adapt it. You can adapt any yoke sweater. So this is kind of an example of something that you'll find lots and lots of versions of that you could adapt really readily to use all these shades or these shades plus extras, whether you have other mini skeins at home or you get more from me, or you have other things sitting in your stash that you could pair with these. You could do a really pretty combination with stuff like this, and you could throw in this, and then maybe the body of the sweater is in maybe a blue, or well, there's lots of options really. I think it would go with almost anything, different shade of green, different shade of pink, a grey, lots and lots of options. So you could use all 7 of these and then add a main colour. So again, classic, very easy to find. The third option in wearables is colour mondin, I think. I'm really sorry. Which is by Audrey Borrego. And this is again another pattern that is presented in 2 colours, but I look at it and I go, this would be awesome in lots of colours. So she has kind of quite small rows of motifs, and I felt like if you did, they're kind of separated. If you did the each separated bit, so they might be made up of 2 or 3 rows, but I think if you did each separated bit in a different colour, they would be really pretty. So again, you could go, you know, a row of purple and then a row of this green and then maybe a row of the mauve and maybe the dark green and so forth, and it would be really cute. Do it on top of this colour, do it on top of another colour if you prefer, but again, something that is presented as two-tone can be really elevated, I think, when you add a lot of colours. I mean, it's already quite a classy sweater, don't get me wrong, but I think it could be really nice done in multiple colours. Now, I came across this pattern. This is Thistlewood by Jennifer Steingass, and she does a lot of colourwork patterns, so it's really worth looking at her whole collection on Ravelry. And I will say now, I normally say at the beginning, but I've done this so long now, all these links are in the description. So if you want to follow up all these patterns, you don't have to write anything down, just look in the description and you'll find links to all of them. This Thistlewood feels like it was made for this collection. It's beautiful and slightly unusual. Like, it isn't the standard kind of yoke sweater that I keep seeing. It's got a really beautiful graphic quality, and was made for greens and purpley pinky colours, right? So yeah, a perfect adaptation of this, and again, a sort of a natural tone is the body, and then the these colours on top, really pretty, really pretty. So that one kind of made me slightly gasp when I saw it, actually. Really lovely. And if you're not really a colour work person and you think, I want to use lots of colours but I don't really want to do stranded colour work, this isn't necessarily easier. In fact, it's not easier than stranded colour work, but it's another look. It's something a bit different, but she's using multiple colours. It's called Chain Sweater, and it's by Pope Vergara. I don't know if it's Pope or Pope, or anyway. And it's got a wonderful collection of both textures and colours. So she has lace panels, but then she also has these kind of bobble panels. Again, lots of design up here. The rest of the sweater is pretty plain. It's just really interesting. It's a bit different, but it's using a lot of colours. And again, I think it could look really pretty in a combination of these sorts of things. So you don't need to invest in tons of yarn. It's a nice choice. And there's a number of models in her pattern listing which show lots of possibilities. Okay, so maybe you don't want to invest in a sweater. Maybe you don't want to add anything to your kit. You just want to knit with what came in your kit, which is still a fair amount of yarn. So we've got lots of possibilities. The Magic of Spring Mitts by Knitted Wishes is kind of perfect. It's kind of perfect. It's again, it's like very much in this vein, right? And they're really pretty, and the flower motif kind of fits with my original concept. And the colours would work perfectly, I think, for this. So that one, again, I was like, yep, no brainer. That one's really sweet. And mitts, very useful. Again, in this, very warm, ideal to knit now, coming into the cooler weather. in autumn and winter. And if you prefer a full mitten rather than just a fingerless mitt, then Spring Mittens by Amanda Sund, again, really cute. Now, I do think these have rows with more than 2 colours. So we're back to pink colour work, which the previous ones were too, and we're probably talking about reasonably advanced colour work at this point. She doesn't say in her description, but I'm looking at the design and I'm seeing the yellow in the middle of the daisies, and unless she's duplicate stitching it, which she may be, I suspect there might be 3 colours in a row every now and again, which might be a no-no for some people, but just go and appreciate the design. It's really cute. They are this sort of object that you would have great fun making, and then you're just delight every time you pulled them on, or think of them as a gift for someone you really love. They would be really, really special. If you can't be doing with the colour work, stop pushing the colour work, Maureen. I will never stop pushing the colour work. I love colour work. It's amazing, but I appreciate not everyone has to have the same interests as me. So if you would like to do something that's a little bit less involved, potentially, consider something like this Book Lovers Fingerless Mitts by Jen Yard. So this is a pattern for they're a fairly plain mitt really. They just use colour really well in stripes over a quite bold rib, and it works really well. You get this lovely texture which adds interest on top of the colour movements. They're really fun depending on what colour combination you use. Again, I think this would look great, and maybe stripe the pale between them to really make these pop. Quick, easy by comparison to some of the things I've shown you, and again super useful because fingerless mitts are a wonderful accessory for most people. So yeah, I thought that was quite pretty. And then for those who don't want any wearables, so no jerseys, no mitts, nothing for your hands, your feet, anything else, I present you Bunny O'Deal by Cynthia Valet. Now we have met a lot of Cynthia Valet patterns recently down here. They are so clever. She's a really smart designer. They are a delight to knit. They are seamless, they are smart, they are incredibly thorough. Like, these patterns are chunky. She gives you all the information you need, and they are adorable. And you learn a lot. Like, if you want to learn a lot about shaping, make one of these patterns. She has heaps, and she has a whole book out, which we've been pouring through again here. But Bunny O'Deal I thought would be kind of perfect for this, because bunny can be this colour really easily. You know, you can have sort of quite fair bunnies. So I thought this colour, and then she makes these clothes for these animals, which is really sweet. So there's a little dress which you could make with maybe the purple and then accent it with the palest pink, and maybe this one as well. It would be really cute. And then I think she has sock pattern. Yep, she has a sock pattern. She almost invariably has sock patterns with her things. So little green socks maybe. I don't know. There's a lot you can do. And these colours would make an adorable bunny rabbit in a frock, I think. So yeah, I can't recommend her stuff enough. They are great patterns, well worth having a go at one. They are, like, you know, toys can be kind of fiddly things, but she really holds your hand and does it very, very well. They are really smart patterns, and as I say, we've really, really enjoyed them down here this year. So, a bit of a whirlwind this year. A one short stop. I don't have any great historical information to relate to you, because I just didn't use that as my inspiration. But obviously, I mean, I could have gone through the history of gardening, but that seems like a slightly large topic for this, and I'm sure YouTube would serve you better on that score. I again had fun putting this together. As I say, this pattern has been living rent-free in my head for a really long time, itching to come out, so I was really thrilled to do it. Christmas Club is a lot of work, but I do love putting it together. I will also make this available as a kit for those who just want to buy it as a kit going forward. I'll probably have those debuting at unwind retreat, which is coming in March down here in Dunedin. If you haven't heard about that, there is a link to it down in the description. Again, we've been running unwind retreat for years. It's now on a every 2-year rotation instead of every year rotation. After we came back after COVID, I thought maybe I won't do this every year because again, a lot of work. But it's a fantastic event, and it's back to being 3 days this year, and my aim is to have these kits and of course the cushion there, and hopefully I'll finish my other one so that there's a couple floating around to look at, and I have a huge selection of mini skeins here, so if you are dropping through or you want to do a Zoom call or something with me, video call, and you want to select a different colorway for this or anything else, I have lots and lots of mini skeins. I don't put them online at the moment because that's kind of quite a lot of hard work on top of everything else, but yeah, I have a huge selection, and I'm happy to make bespoke kits for people. So if you think you want to make this pattern but maybe not in this colorway, and you want to have a discussion and we can come up with something specifically for you, I can do that any day of the week. Love doing that. It's one of my favorite things is sitting down and deciding on color schemes for people and making that happen. So I hope your Christmas is a relaxing one. I know it's been a really hard year for lots of people, so I hope you're getting a good downtime, even if you're working on Christmas Day, which obviously lots of people do, and thank you if you are, because someone has to keep everything else running while we are sitting around eating too much. I hope that you get at least some downtime over summer, and that the weather is nice to us at some point, and that you get a really good refreshing break. It's really important that we all have a bit of downtime and get to recharge our batteries, and I hope that's true for you. I hope you get some time to knit on something you really enjoy. I hope you get to spend time with people that you love and you just have a jolly good time. And may the new year be kind and bring wonderful things to us all. Take care, and I'll see you soon.